Jackson, Mississippi is still recovering from the winter storm that hit the South last month. Many residents were without water for weeks, and now officials say progress is being made, yet the boil water advisory is still in effect for residents. The crisis was so bad, the National Guard was called in to help with water distribution. For more on this, I want to bring in the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, Chokwe Antar Lumumba. Mayor Lumumba, thank you so much for joining us. How many residents remain without water now, and what is being done to fix this?
Well, we can, first and foremost, thank you for having me. We can express that we have made significant progress. We believe we have fewer than 500 residents without water due to a myriad of issues. Some of those individuals have experienced pipes that have burst in their own homes. They may have water meter issues, but we are making significant progress. As I have said previously, we won't be satisfied until water is restored to every single home.
So some residents were without water for weeks following the winter storm. Why did it take so long to restore their access to clean water?
Well, essentially, it's on account of a very aged infrastructure, an infrastructure which was not prepared to withstand the prolonged extreme temperatures that we experienced during the winter storm. It led to mechanics or mechanical instruments freezing at the plant. It led to screens, which are at the very inception of where water comes into the plant, not being able to get through the system. It greatly reduced the PSI, the pounds per square inch, and our system operates off of hydraulics. And so it really requires that we have a consistent amount of pressure throughout the system, throughout the distribution line, in order to effectively provide water to all of our residents. And so the winter storm crippled, it debilitated our system. And so it is an illustration of the fact that cities are in need of resources to repair aged infrastructure. It is also indicative of the fact that cities are experiencing more extreme weather conditions. We have hotter summers, colder winters, and we experience more rain, and it takes a toll on our infrastructure. And so we are in need of state and federal support to address all of these issues.
Right, and this is not the first time that you have spoken out about this, that the city of Jackson needs this long-term support to deal with this water issue. Now, it's going to be expensive to fix, right? It's gone decades at this point without being addressed sufficiently. You say the money needs to come from state and federal funds. Is there any indication that that money is coming?
Well, I will express optimism at this time. I do know that the city of Jackson will be able to incorporate within the state's disaster relief plan the damages that we have sustained in the midst of this horrible freeze. But also, we know that we need more than assistance in this moment. We need continued funding. Even if we're able to repair the damage that has taken place within the last several weeks, we have to understand that if we fail to commit towards continued funding of these infrastructure needs, then we will experience another challenge tomorrow. And Jackson is not necessarily an exception to the rule. Many of our legacy cities are suffering in the same regard.
And so what message would you like to deliver to those residents who were without water for weeks and those who may still be without water?
I certainly want them to know that their city is fighting for them in every way. As we have continued to invest every resource that we have, we will continue to look high and low for the resources that support the infrastructure that supports them. Want them to know that we are very regretful for the experience, that it is more than just mere inconvenience, that it has placed a considerable amount of fear in our community. People not only being unable to drink water and bathe, but people who have been concerned with hygienic needs in the midst of a pandemic, people in need of water to take medication. We certainly understand the importance of water in our world, and so we will continue to do all that we can in our local leadership to bring everyone to the table, or go to any table that is sufficient to provide for the needs of our residents.
So speaking of the pandemic, I want to ask you a little bit more about that. As you know, the state of Mississippi has lifted its statewide mask mandate, but you say it will remain in the city of Jackson. How is Jackson doing currently? You know, how is the vaccination rollout effort doing, and what is the infection rate? And what do you make of the state's decision to lift that mask mandate?
Well, I'll take your latter question first and just express that obviously we're extremely disappointed by the governor's decision. It appears to be premature. I don't think that we need to declare victory until the entire fight is concluded. No one celebrates a victory in the third quarter, and right as we can see a light at the end of the tunnel, it really makes little sense to prematurely lift that mask mandate. But as you indicated, we will maintain our mandate in the city of Jackson, and we will base our policies off of science, not politics. We listen to the advice of our COVID task force, which is populated by medical experts, by individuals who weigh in on how we operate an economy in the presence of COVID-19. And so our first priority is to protect lives, and also we protect businesses by making sure that we maintain our mask mandate. It sees to it that we keep our numbers low. The state has been attempting through the state health department to get the vaccination program rolling. There has been considerable challenge in the early days. While Black and brown communities are most disproportionately affected, Jackson being a city which is 85% Black, we have to make certain that we do everything that we can to support those populations. And so in the early days, we've seen as low as 13% of the total number of people vaccinated come from Black communities. And so the city has stepped in along with our COVID task force. We just recently had a vaccination day this past weekend where we vaccinated 1,800 people in a day. And we will continue to use credible messengers going through churches and other institutions that we feel will help in the effort to get our community vaccinated so that we could potentially see herd immunity.
All right. Well, Jackson, Mississippi Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.